Hello and welcome to this week's episode of the Red Couch Podcast. As always, I'm your host, Konstantinos Drossos, and today I'm talking with Will Bruce, who just recently came back from an exchange program in England. Will, how you doing today?
Oh, I'm doing great.
Good, yeah?
Yeah.
You warming back up with the temperature here?
Yeah, it's a bit of a shock, I guess,
Yeah.
but nothing quite as cold over there. But no, I feel like definitely hitting me today.
Awesome, man. So before we just dive into the rest of the podcast, can you just give a brief introduction to our viewers about who you are?
Okay. Hi, I'm Will Bruce. I just got back from a study abroad program in term one, and yeah, I had a great time. It was in Southampton in the UK, about 2 hours southwest of London. So yeah, I got to do a bunch of things. Had a great learning experience, and that's what I'm here to talk about.
Awesome. Now, to start off, why did you choose to go on the exchange program in the first place, and what opportunities did you gain from it?
Um, I would have to say I originally never planned to do something like this. Like when I think about going through like high school or even coming here, um, it was never something that crossed my mind that it would be that obtainable. Um, it's not like my family's that well off, so it was one of those things where I was hoping when I first heard about it that maybe there would be some help, and there definitely was. It was possible because of the grant, and I would encourage anybody that's interested to definitely go talk to the international office because that's basically what got me over there. And yeah, I had a great time. Um, and I would say that like the thing that pushed me to go over there was the fact that I've been abroad in terms of going to the U.S. I've been all over like the Eastern Coast, and I've been a bit to the Caribbean, but I've never been overseas, and that's where my family came from. Um, so I felt like it'd be cool to go, kind of look at my roots and go find some places that are like historically meaningful to my own family, and get to see why they left and why they came over here.
Interesting way of thinking about it. So, out of any place you were able to choose from to travel, you chose England. Can you also dive into more as to why? Did you like? Did you like the culture? Did you like the atmosphere? Like the society there?
Yeah, for sure. We had a few different options for my program. It depends. Whatever program you're in, you're given a few different options to go to. The other two were Ireland and Wales, which I think they both would have been great opportunities as well. But for me personally, I felt like I said, my family's English, um, so I had that connection immediately, and then also just where Southampton's located. It's kind of a perfect area if you want to be able to travel to London quite quickly. And then there's also options available to cross the ocean, and you can go to France, Belgium, Netherlands. All like those nearby countries are quite close. So.
Interesting. Now, what was it like? What was the student life like there on campus and stuff like that? What kind of fun things did you do?
Yeah, there was a lot of stuff available. They made it really welcoming. Uh, Honestly, one thing that was kind of different, I think, from my experience compared to a lot, is that, especially in the UK, I don't know about other European countries, but they don't have residents on site most of the time. A lot of it is through like private um, or companies that lease it out to students. But we actually had it through the school, so that was a bit unique. And they had us on the floor, like we were on floor three, I think, and it was with a bunch of other international students. So we got to kind of all share that same experience, and most of them were exchange as well. So we were all there for the same amount of time. So it was a lot of fun, and I was able to meet a bunch of really good people. Um, and yeah, just the student life experience. It's a really good student city, I would say, Southampton. There's like a shopping mall. Everything's walkable. So you go walk, you get your groceries. You can walk to the school. It's about 15 minutes. Um, so yeah, there was a lot of stuff to do, and then obviously you have like your football match on the weekends or whatever. So yeah.
And how would you compare it here to like student life here in Canada?
Um, Honestly, I don't know. It's hard to compare. I think like I mentioned, everything was walkable, and I think that really helped. Because here, like, you almost need a car if you want to go do stuff with friends. Um, so I feel like that accessibility and like everything kind of being close together. There was a lot of stuff to go do, and then also, like I said, if you wanted that break, to kind of get away from things for a weekend, you had the ability to go to London. You could take a train, you could take a bus, and it didn't cost that much, to be honest. So,
Right.
yeah.
Now you talked about the English culture there. What was like the biggest type of culture shock you got when you first arrived there, or you experienced?
Um, I would definitely say that I didn't think about that too much. Like it was told, or I was told that by like the international office. We did stuff beforehand that you had to fill out where it talked about culture shock, and I never really thought about it that much until I actually got there. And I remember um, the first experience that I had coming from the airport and taking the underground, which is the subway in London, and just coming out at the station where I was gonna go meet my relatives. And it was crazy because you don't think about all the things that are different, but it just hit me all at once. It was like you know, you see the black taxis or the cabs, you see the double decker buses, and you're like, oh wow, I really am somewhere else. And it kind of hit me there. Um, but it was quite easy to get adjusted. I would say it was a very similar culture, um, but it also obviously was unique.
And to kind of expand on that too, like what was some of the most like what was the most English thing you did on like during your time there?
Um, I definitely I'll probably going to see some football matches. Unfortunately, Southampton's at the bottom of the league, and they didn't do quite well. Both times I was there. So that, and then going to the pub too. That was like a thing that everybody does. Even the teachers. It was kind of odd. They'd be like, "Hey, after class, come with us to the pub, and let's grab a drink." But yeah, that's not something that quite happens over here. But it was definitely a unique experience and a lot of fun.
Can imagine like you brought up football too. Is that I see on like the like on any type of social media that like the football matches there like they take it religiously there like the chants, the screams and all that. Like what was that like experiencing that rather than seeing it on TV to actually being in the stands alongside those like crazy fans?
Yeah, oh, it was amazing. I've always wanted to go, even here, just seeing like Toronto FC, but I've never been to one before I was over there, and I'm kind of glad because I just where I was sitting actually the away stand they separate the stands because they don't want fights and stuff. So the away stand was like right in the corner, right beside us, and the stuff that was just being said and the energy of the crowd was absolutely incredible. Um, and it's just like yeah, they take it so seriously, and I think it's because it's kind of built into the community and the culture of every single town. So if you know if your team's doing well, then your city's doing well, and I think they take a lot of pride in that.
Did you see any like all-star players get to take time on the pitch or anything like that or no?
Yeah, I actually I'm wearing it right here. I have a Chelsea sweater on right now, but I wanted to make sure that I saw a game. I was thinking about maybe seeing one at home in London, but they didn't really have games that lined up that I wanted to see. So they ended up in the final week that I was there, coming to Southampton for a game. So it lined up perfectly, and I was able to go watch Chelsea and Cole Palmer, who's arguably one of the best players in the league. I mean, I'll be a bit biased, but yeah, so I was able to see him play and Jaden Sancho and a bunch of others. And that was absolutely incredible. Chelsea did end up winning 5-1. Uh, I was happy somewhat. I was wearing my Southampton shirt because I was in the Southampton end. But, you know, it was still a great experience and I had a blast.
That's awesome. And you kind of talked about seeing some like doing some sightseeing there in England. What did you get to see while while you were there?
Oh, I tried to make sure that I did the most possible. And I encourage anybody who's going abroad, especially, yeah, if you're going abroad, even without other people, I think it's very important. It was a very personal journey. So to be able to go out and do the things that I wanted to do, I like a lot of museums. I like a bunch of art or just going to different communities. So like in London specifically, I went around basically every corner of the city that I could. Went to a bunch of different museums. Tried to go to a bunch of different ends of the city just to get the feel of how everything was. And there's still places that I haven't explored, but I think I went there about 5 times. It was about once a month. And like I said, luckily I had relatives there, and it was kind of the perfect setup. So I could go stay with them and have like a weekend and go explore what I wanted to do, and then come back for class.
Yeah, it's interesting. I've always seen online with when it comes to museums of London stuff. Like London's like a layer when it comes to historical time periods. You have like you'll see Roman ruins in one area of the city, medieval ruins in another, and then you'll get to see like other parts of England from like more recent times in history, which is kind of cool.
Yeah, no, exactly. And that's one thing. Like, as much as we do have history here in Canada, and I've seen it too. Going over there was a completely new level. And just being able to read about some of the stuff that's happened in the streets that you're walking down, or you can just tell by some of the buildings how old they are, and seeing those historical landmarks, as well as, like I said, for example, some of it was personal to me, like just seeing my family history. So, um, I think it was like my great 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 grandfather was baptized at this one church, and it's in the middle of I think it's near Borough Market. It's pretty central in London, and to see that like my family came from there, and knowing that they were there like however many generations ago, and the fact that I'm able to return back there, um, for reasons just to see it, when they left because maybe they didn't have the opportunities that they wanted, so they decided to take this chance. I think that was a really cool thing to go see.
Yeah, I agree, man. It was the same thing with me when I went to Greece too. I felt that kind of family connection, but also you got to travel a lot throughout. Like, I remember seeing on Instagram you went to like France and you went to Switzerland. What was that like? Being able to just be like, okay, the weekend's here. I'm gonna hop on a plane and go to another country for a bit. Like, what was that like?
Yeah, that was a new experience to me. Like I said, I've been to the U.S. a bunch, but my family would never fly. We would always do a car, like a road trip. So we'd be taking the car down. So it was definitely something new. I wish it was more accessible here because, like, I would love to go out west in Canada. I've been out east and to Quebec and stuff, but um, just because of the cost of everything, it's harder to go. But to go just across the English Channel to go to France, that was about 80 euros, or 80 pounds, my bad, which is about, I don't know, 140 Canadian. So it's like it's almost
That's
like one
crazy.
tenth of the price to get from Canada to over there. So I was not going to miss that opportunity. And yeah, I went to France and I went to the Netherlands. Both places were absolutely incredible. Yeah.
Yeah, and so traveling itself too. When you touched down in these places and you had to find a place to stay, like was it expensive to and easy to find a place that was affordable for your budget?
Um, no, it definitely wasn't. And I mean, this was the first solo trip that I've ever really planned for myself. And the fact was, I mean, going to Amsterdam, I did it with a friend that went along with me, so that was perfect, and we were able to help each other. But it was Paris, and I wanted to do 5 days, 4 nights specifically, because I wanted to get as much out of the experience as possible, and I felt like it was the perfect amount of time. But for the budget that I wanted, everything was like dorms and shared bathrooms and everything. And I was expecting that I would get that, but I just kept looking for like a few weeks. And my patience kind of paid off. And I found an Airbnb that had like a queen bed and its own bathroom. Um, the downside was that it was shared, but honestly, looking at it now, that wasn't a downside at all. The host that was there was absolutely incredible. She helped me plan my days out, suggested where to go. And then also I was able to have food there and whatever. So it was an absolutely incredible experience. But I think Paris would be the highlight of my trip, even though I spent so much time in the UK. Um, Being able to plan that all myself and see so many things that I wanted to go see, and some things I didn't even know about until like the Olympics, for example. Like the library there is absolutely gorgeous. It's like a really round room, and it just kind of takes your breath away. And then going to the Louvre, for example, like I went the first day, but because I had those extra days, I was able to go back again, for a second time because I enjoyed it so much. So yeah, there's so much to unpack in Paris. And once again, I try to do as much as possible in the little time that I had. I would be gone from like 8 a.m. to 10 p.m. like just trying to do as much as possible. But there's still more for me to go back and do. So, and I think that's one thing about Europe is there's always stuff to go do.
Yeah. Did you get a chance to get like a PSG match in there too, or no?
No, unfortunately, I didn't see any soccer or football in in France or any other country, but other than the UK. But yeah, no, it was a really good experience though.
Sounds like fun. So now, kind of going back to the point about exchange, would you, like? It sounds like you had a really good, experience going overseas and studying abroad. Would you recommend this type of opportunity to a Fanshawe student to take? And if so, why? Why would you recommend it?
Oh, I absolutely would recommend it. I think looking back on things, especially considering how close I was to not going, I think I would have, if I ever went to these places later, I would have been mad at myself that I missed out on that opportunity so early. Um, Especially because the age that most people are when they're in college, you have so much that you can go do after this. So if you take this 1 year to just kind of sidetrack, it's still fine. And I didn't expect to do it, but I'm really happy personally that I did it because it just taught me so much more about other cultures, about the world. Um, I feel like it gave me new perspectives on things, and it also solidified things that um, I personally valued. But maybe maybe not as much before, but I do even more now. But also one thing is just like say yes to everything. Like that's what I've learned. If you do something and don't like it, that's fine. You don't ever have to do it again. But it's better to just say yes and do it, because you might end up regretting missing out. So yeah.
And what kind of things do you think, any type of student could gain from an experience like this, going abroad and studying?
Um, I definitely think I would say that the things that you gain the most are those personal connections with people. Like I met so many cool people, and a lot of them, ironically, because we were on the exchange floor for everybody, they weren't even English people. I mean, I did definitely meet some, and they were amazing too. But like, I met a bunch of Norwegians, some Dutch, and then some students even from like Vietnam that came over, and everybody was so great. And like the food that everybody had. Like everybody was making different food based on where they were from, so you got to try a bunch of different stuff like that. And then just what everybody enjoyed, their hobbies. You get to find out a lot more about people, and you get to connect a lot too, because everybody knew that they were there for a limited time. Um, that we would all leave within a few months, so we only had a few months to get everything done, and I think everybody wanted to hit part of a bucket list kind of thing. Uh, so that's what I would say um, is most important. I think also from like the learning side, uh, it's interesting to see how other countries do things. That can be really important too, because different countries might value different parts of an industry more. So me personally doing journalism back here, I did media production over there, which gave me a bit of a different side, more of a technical ability. But it was also university compared to college, so it was a bit more theoretical, a bit more lectures and stuff like that. And it also just I think it looks good, right? Like you want to show that you want to go out and explore things, and to put that on a resume, I think is a really good thing.
Did you like media production? What kind of stuff did you get to film, or kind of like what did you study over there?
Um, a lot of it was, well, one of the things that we did was podcasting. Ironically, we did do podcasting. It's not my like I don't personally listen to too many, but it was really interesting to just see how like soundscapes can be used, and also just the different types, and also like everybody thinks they know what a podcast is, but when you actually try and like define it, it's so hard to do. And I found that really cool to go in depth on. We also did documentary filmmaking, where it was more of a short film. I felt like uh, that one personally was really gratifying because I've always enjoyed documentaries. It's always been one of my favorite things. And one of the documentaries I remember, like when I was growing up, I would watch this all the time. Like always watch this documentary. But it was World War II in color,
Oh, I remember seeing that. Yeah.
and it turns out that my prof actually made that. Like he was like an executive producer, and or I don't even, he might have been director actually, but he helped make a bunch of these episodes and compile the stuff. So like I didn't know that until I was already in the course, and he told us that. So that was kind of cool. And just seeing or getting knowledge from somebody like that that's made something that you've kind of looked up to. And then finally we had like a different course. And that's the other thing. There was only 3 courses, so you have 3 days of school, which is a bit odd, but especially coming from here. But yeah. So we had the third one was Your Brand Online, which was more for like freelancing, or if you wanted to be like a content creator, how you would promote yourself. I don't know if I'll personally use that one as much, but it was still pretty good, and it was just talking about networking, how to promote yourself, that kind of stuff.
Man, sounds like you had quite an adventure over there for 4 months. You jammed in
Yeah.
a lot of, fun things to do.
No, for sure. I tried to make the most out of it.
Thank you for listening to another episode of the Red Couch Podcast. You can catch more episodes online or wherever you get your podcasts. And make sure you sign up for the Interrobang newsletter. For the Interrobang, I'm Konstantinos Drossos, and we'll see you next time.